So my soil is okay, not optimal. I don't rotate the planting site. I don't fertilize like I'm supposed to. I have root competition with the bigger plants. I don't aerate the soil like I should. And yeah, I think those are the things that I am not giving the garlic according to experts. I would say the two or 2.5 things that I feel like I have done really well this year are watering, weeding, and then the third one is fertilizing. I fertilize more than I have in previous years, so that to me, I feel like that is kind of like, you know, being consistent. So even though it's not what it should be as far as the interval goes, to me that is very good, especially for somebody like me who doesn't fertilize as often, not just with garlic, with with a lot of the other plants in the garden. I will say that this year I have been more consistent with watering the garlics as well. In previous years I would forget, or something that I wasn't aware of that I was supposed to do on a regular basis. But this year, even when we had or have had a dry, hot spring, I made sure that the garlic gets watered. And I wanted to also let you know that I've already harvested the other parts. The new part of the garden, which is to the left of me here, that one was not really amending any soil. Any amendment was just from the mulch that was applied, I believe last fall. But anyway, it's just been recent. So I noticed that when you go, like, you could see like the first maybe an inch or two, the soil was fairly good from the breakdown of mulch. And then after that, you could see the roots, where the roots were. You can see the red clay soil. And I think they have done really well, considering the fact. And then the ones that are closer to the bridge garden, I don't fertilize that as often as I do with these two beds in the back of me here. There's some sprinkling going on right now already. So let's go ahead and get moving. You can see that some stems are thicker than others. These two are pretty thick. That one is tiny. Probably medium size, right? Let me see, right here. Where's the other one? Like right here is a medium size. Typical size for my garden here. Now, the experts will say that the thicker the stem, the larger the bulb. So we will see together. I will say that in the past, in previous years, that's not always the case. Just because I have bigger stems does not mean that translates to bigger bulbs. And it could be because I have crummy soil. It's not very aerated. I would have to use a trowel to get to the bulbs. Like, it doesn't pull up easily like if you were to have it in a raised bed, for example, with nice soil. So there is some compaction there. So that could contribute to smaller size bulbs. But nevertheless, so huge. These were grocery store bought bulbs, or garlic I should say. And most grocery stores, I would say all, would want to stock the soft neck because of the longer shelf life. So I would think that I have soft neck garlic, and you can tell by, you know, like, it's not stiff, the stem right here, but to me this is pretty stiff. The other way that you can tell is how it is arranged. So with soft neck, you get more cloves. More cloves and arranged in multi-layers. So to me, this looks almost like a hard neck. It's stiff right here. Some of them I have seen form scapes, although they would say that the soft neck tends to not form scapes. So not bad, look at that. Pretty good size. I would expect it to be bigger, but again, it could be things that I'm not doing. All right, so let's see another one. This is almost the same size. So I have compaction here. If I didn't mention in the beginning, that's something I don't do, was aerate my soil so you don't get this compaction going on. Very compact. Look at that. What do we see? Clay. Even though this space has been with garlic for several years now, still very much clay soil. But look at the roots. Look how tough the roots are. Able to go through pretty hard clay there. I mean, it's not like compact clay, but still clay soil. All right, so you can see that almost the same size, same diameter, but the bulb, one is a little bit smaller. That one's a little bit smaller. Okay, let's see the smaller one. So this is what, like 3 times smaller than those two. Well, this one so far is what I've seen, one where the stems are this big and they produce bigger bulbs. And we've been getting some good rain, maybe some wind too, so some of the garlics are flopping over. Let's do another smaller one. It's kind of small. This is twice the size. This is twice the size of this, and it is more than twice the size. I do want to say that overall, I have enjoyed planting garlic every year, and I'm so happy with the harvest. With me not putting too much work, except as mentioned, staying on top of watering and weeding, and then of course fertilizing when I remember to. So with doing all that, I'm happy with the yield. So what I have noticed is that the garlics that were planted closer to the walkway, those tend to be bigger, the stems. And overall, the bulbs were bigger as well. I noticed them on this side, not necessarily on the other side, because they were planted kind of far. So that tells me maybe they have been planted too close, more root competition with each other, and then also them stealing nutrients from one another. So they're fighting for nutrients. As mentioned, I don't fertilize like I should. So that was one observation that I noticed. Another one that I noticed is that the garlic bulbs that are on this side, I realized I just forgot one right there. They're not as big. The contributing factor is that there were roots underneath from the arborvitaes. And I used to have, I might have roots from this holly too that I keep pulling. So mostly it's from the arborvitae. So that explains why they could be smaller, because they're having to overcompete for nutrients. So these are them. The ones that were closer, like this one was closer to the walkway. So those, like these, yeah, like these were bigger. There was one that was here that was around the same size. Otherwise, they tend to be on the smaller size. And look at look at this, or look at this group. Very small. Like with a stem this wide, I would think that it would produce bigger bulbs. But the good thing is, you know, it was still producing a lot of leaves. Just for some reason, maybe its nutrients was being stolen by other things underground. So I would say this bed, the middle bed, which did not have a lot of root competition, I would say they produce some big size bulbs. Look at these and these. What I didn't understand were these. They are here and they have, you know, no really root competition. There was a camellia right there that had been removed, so I'm not sure. It could be that this plant has been stealing nutrients. And remember that we had the what is it, Stella Ruby Magnolia that was there. We did remove it sometimes in the way, I think, what, late February, March, April time frame. So that could be contributing to that. This one, if anything, would get the most water, and it's downhill too. So I was surprised. Just based on the trend, I would think that these guys would be bigger. But again, there could be unknown root competition that I'm not aware of. But not bad. Not bad at all. There are more bulbs here. And that could also mean that they were competing against one another as well, producing smaller bulbs. The ones that were bigger, those are the ones that were closer to the edge here. Overall, they're pretty much around the same size, so that was interesting too. So that just could mean that they were competing with one another, and they're giving each other or one another some about equal nutrients. This side, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they didn't do well. I know that some of them I had to transplant when they were already growing, so I could understand they were smaller. Could be some of these right here. So not sure why these were smaller. The only thing I could think of was that there used to be the pear tree here that has been cut down, so root competition there. But it had a good, like 2 or 3 months, so we'll chalk it up to that there was root competition. The one, you see, there was 1 or 2 that were bigger. They were right around here, so no competition there. So that's interesting. And these guys, I would expect them to do well, but they are higher up on the hill here. And like the other side, produced smaller bulbs too. There's only one that was bigger. Otherwise, similar to the other side, which was interesting because no root competition that I could think of. But the rosemary here, I don't think the rosemary is stealing nutrients from them. So these are the bigger ones. We got two bigger ones there. So here's my conclusion for this year's garlic harvest. So I think root competition has played a major factor in determining the size of the bulbs. They could be competing with one another. They could be, I should say, or competing with other roots underground. I should space the garlics wider apart. I think I was doing like what, an inch or two apart. So maybe I should go ahead and keep it at least 4 inches apart from one another. So that way they don't have to be fighting for nutrients. And I'm going to not plant behind me there the top bed, just because there are more roots, arborvitae roots there. And I forgot to also mention, it's a possibility that the bulbs that the cloves that I used were from smaller bulbs from last year. So that could be a factor as well. So if I am going to be planting these again, I'm going to make sure that I use the biggest bulbs. So you can see that even with not having all the right things that you should do with garlic, you could still have some pretty good yield. Even though they're small, you know, that's still a good size. You know, I'll show you. So these are some of the small ones. So even if this is all you got, that's still really good, better than not putting in anything for the season. Even this, that is good for a stir-fry dish. So doing something, I think, is better than nothing at all. And you can be, you know, I know that staying on top of watering is good, but sometimes things happen. It'll be okay. The garlic would still do fairly good, just because in previous years, you know, I didn't stay on top of watering as I should, and I still had pretty good yield. So if you can water. If not, you know, do the best you can, but just know that they do prefer nice, even, moist soil throughout their whole growing season. So I would say go for it if you've never grown garlic before. It's easy to do. You want to start planting garlic in my zone here, my growing condition, between late September to November. Put them in the ground, forget about them except for watering, and then, you know, fertilize when you can. You can, that's fine too. If you have clay soil already has nutrients in there. And just, you know, experiment. Try it out with doing nothing at all, just putting it in the ground and see what happens. Maybe next year, try again, but add something else that you didn't do the previous year. So it's fun to experiment, and it's fun to see what you could get away with, especially if you have busy schedules, you have children, other things going on. But I will say that garlic is one of the easiest things to grow. Just put them in the ground and just forget about them if you wanted to, and just see how they do. And I know you'll be surprised that you will have garlic to harvest for the next year. All right, so what am I going to do with these guys? So I'm going to wrap them in groups of 10s and hang them in the garage. It's not the optimal environment. Typically you want to maybe leave them outside, especially if, you know, when you have like a dry, arid environment. That's good to air dry them for a few days. I don't have that. It's humid here. It's been wet. It's been, you know, because of the rain, and where I'm going to put them in the garage, it's probably will stay moist too. But I figure it's better to just go ahead and hang them to dry. Now, because I don't have the perfect curing garlic environment, I will usually cure the garlics for at least a month, sometimes a little bit longer, just to make sure they dry out completely. You don't want to shake off. You can shake off the soil as much as you can, but make sure that you don't damage, you don't do anything to the outer covering. Just leave it as is. So here I can probably shake off a little bit more of the soil. If you don't want to, that's fine. Don't do anything to the leaves, just leave them, because that will help with the curing process. I don't know the mechanism of action behind that. All I know is that it should help with the curing process, and that's it. Very easy to do. If you have a cool, dry environment, that will be the best place to store your to dry your garlic, to cure it. I can do another video to show how to get them prepared for storage. Usually I don't store them very long because we go through them very quickly. So anyway, yeah, I am happy with the results, even though they're not as big as I would like them to. I'm just happy that I have plenty of garlic to use, to share with others, to have some left over to plant again. So overall, it's a win-win. I didn't have to spend too much of my time, my energy, resources, and all that. So I'm happy with the results. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found some of it helpful. And if you are new to my channel, my name is Terry. Welcome to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And until the next one, I hope you take care. Bye for now.